Well, as our state approaches the centennial, we are reminded of our rich history, and that is the topic in this month's edition of Arizona Highways Magazine. Today, we are joined by the editor-in-chief, Robert Steeve, and photographer Scott Baxter to talk about the photos in this issue. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Well, we are just absolutely in awe of the content and the pictures in this month's magazine.
Yeah, and the cover story this month, we're always sort of steering people to cool things around the state, and the impetus for this story was really that, you're driving down the road and you see historic landmarks and you tend to just drive on by because you're heading to Sedona or Lake Powell or wherever.
Or because we don't do it unless we're in another state, right?
Exactly.
What is that?
Yeah, there's so much in our backyard. And so what we decided was let's make the story about those landmarks. And so what we feature this month in our cover story is historic landmarks.
Well, let's take a look at them. And we're always so glad that you come and kind of give us a sneak peek.
Yeah.
This is Cameron Suspension Bridge, which I've not seen personally until today.
Well, good. It's a fascinating structure. It's if you ever go to Lake Powell, it's north of Flagstaff on Highway 89. And it was an old bridge that was used in the pioneer days, really, the old days. It's not used for vehicle traffic anymore, but there's a historic trading post there. It's a great stop on your way to Lake Powell.
Scott, have you ever seen this?
Yes, I have. Driven by it many times.
I bet. I bet you've seen a lot of places. We're going to get to you in just a bit because he has actually been taking pictures of ranches, essentially, and ranchers who've had land for 100 years or more in their family.
Yeah, ranches around the state that have it's a project called 100 Years, 100 Ranchers. And I'll let Scott talk a little bit more about it. But yeah, the criteria is a ranch has had to be in the same family for at least 100 years.
Fascinating. I'm going to have you hold on just a quick second because I've got to get my history lesson here. So this is what? In fact,
this is
I don't really
Fort
know.
Lowell down in Tucson, and it was interesting putting this piece together. A lot of our history has to do with military outposts. Back in the 1800s, there were a lot of, the U.S. Army was fighting the Apaches, trying to, tame the West, so to speak. And so Fort Lowell was one of the main outposts for supplying the military. And today it's, there's a quartermaster house and other things there, and it's right in Tucson. Here's another one you're seeing. This is up a different end of the state, Fort Verde, up in the Verde Valley. And it was part of the same battle against the Apaches. But, all these things are, as you mentioned, you drive by them because we focus on Sedona, which is a great place, or Flagstaff or whatever, and there's so many things like this.
Well, and what is this one right here?
This is actually Fort Bowie, which is in southeastern Arizona. It's also the place you saw on our cover, and it was really one of the main outposts for the battles with Geronimo. One of my favorite places in the state. It takes about a mile and a half hike to get back there, but it's worth the trip.
Well, I think that was a great picture to kind of segue into you, Scott, because the perspective of that was so unique. Most of us, when we go and see things, whether it's a historical, monument or whatever, we don't look at things the way we see them captured in Arizona Highway magazines. And you, as a photographer, have a way of seeing things like that, and you've been able to do that on these ranches as well.
Right.
So how have you been able to capture the stories and the lives of these ranchers in this magazine?
Well, I actually came up with the idea about 10 years ago, and I've been working on it for about 5 years. And I just wanted to do something where I could preserve the heritage of ranching in the state. And then I tied it in with the centennial. So I said, let's see if we can get 100 of them. And there's more than 100 of them, but I just started calling. I've worked with the Cattle Growers Association, and I have some friends who are ranchers, and they're, it really kind of just went by word of mouth. And so now we're a little bit over halfway done.
What is going on here? I love this picture.
Well, this is the Flying UW Ranch outside of Winkleman, Arizona, and that's owned by Walt and Francie Meyer. And the woman in the center holding the baby is Katie Meyer, and she will actually take over the ranch. They have 4 daughters, and that's her little daughter. So you have quite a number of generations there, and that was just after they had done. They had just sold some cattle, and the bull is their bull, and his name is Mike.
Oh, they named the.
They named the bull.
You know what? Yeah. I like Mike, and I like.
Don't mess with Mike.
And this one right here.
This is a great family. This is the Baird family. They're up in Shumway, Arizona, which is kind of east of Show Low and west of Springerville. And that is Robert Baird on the right and Joe Baird on the left. Joe is 91, and he was competitive team roping until he was about 88.
Wow.
And that's a great old family.
Well, we're going to kind of scroll through these as I say thank you to both of you. I absolutely love looking at this. And these pictures, plus many, many others that can kind of give you a tour of the state, are available in February's edition. This one, perhaps my favorite.
That's great.
I love this. There are stories to be told in those hands right there,
Sure,
aren't there?
sure.
Absolutely. Well, the issue of Arizona Highways Magazine is on newsstands now, and you can also pick up Arizona Highways